So hello everyone, welcome to this week's YouTube video. I'm just going to get straight into it, no mess tins. We're just going to get straight into why I developed something called IPS Hub. And what is IPS Hub? Well, the tool itself is about centralizing all. I'll show you it and we'll log in and have a look at it, but I'm going to show you the IPS Toolkit side first, and then we'll look at the actual the web interface and how it actually works. So everybody talks about joined up thinking in IPS, and we know that we still, if we're absolutely honest, we still operate in silos. Decisions are made in tech pubs, decisions are made in training, provisioning, etc. You get the idea. And they all have an impact on each other. Not every decision, but a lot of our decisions have an impact on how we should be producing our parts catalogs, how we should be externalizing our procedural data, how we should be using definitions in S1000D that might go over into into training, that might go into our MTAs, for example. And I've got clients that are actually doing this, and the way that they do that right now is that each domain is doing its own thing. So governance is buried in lots of different people, they're buried in lots of different spreadsheets, and the problem with that is that we don't always have cross-domain visibility, transparency. Impact analysis is one of the things when I talk about S-Series Connect in a couple of weeks. I'll show you S-Series Connect, and if we make a change in one environment, it tells us what's happening in another and what the impact of that is. So projects repeat decisions. They make a decision in one area and then somebody else tries to make exactly the same decision in another area, and there's no kind of joined up thinking. And therefore, we are in our spreadsheet world. I know how much we all love spreadsheets, and we have proper spreadsheet gurus out there, and they can make the most wonderful spreadsheets. I've just recently been sent a spreadsheet from a client who's capturing data from the supply chain that is a beautiful spreadsheet. You know, I'm sure somebody spent a lot of time putting that together, but that's not scalable, it's not manageable, it's not transparent unless we are centralizing those in a sensible way. So we need to have transparency on governance, and this only is going to get increasingly more important as we become deeper reliant on data. We become I know I'm supporting some clients already that are rolling out AI in IPS, and how we use AI in a sensible way and how we can make that happen. But specifications alone do not create the alignment. They tell us what the relationships are, or if we should be doing something in one domain or in one particular activity, and how we should be taking that data. So we need to have this alignment through process, through data, through domains, etc. And the important thing is that governance should be surviving the life cycle, not hidden inside individual experts or individual spreadsheets that might be on somebody's C plate somewhere, or, you know, we need to have this complete transparency. So that's why I developed IPS Hub. Let me show you one of my slides from training, and I'm just walking over to my board here. So I've trimmed this down for just for YouTube, but those of you who have done my courses know that we fill areas here and here, and we talk about why things like data voids and data drift happens. And whilst, you know, that is true for data, one of the underlying problems for data drift and data void, and how can we prevent that from happening, is we talk about these individual kind of areas here all around the different domains or different specifications, and it comes down to activities that we might be performing. And to perform those activities, of course, we need policy, we need guidance, we need rules, and often they are being, should we say, they're being decided in isolation, which is one of the underlying problems of this drift and void problem. So how do we centralize all of these decisions? How do we capture comments from all of our stakeholders? So, you know, for example, we may try to make a decision in technical publications that the guys that are performing the MTA may either disagree with, or they might say, well, actually, can you add this as well, because then we can tie that to your data module codes, etc. Let's go into the toolkit and have a look. So here we are inside the IPS Toolkit. I've just come straight into S1000D Studio, straight into the Governance Hub, just purely because I still have some customer data in here. So here you can see that now, one thing I haven't shown you on this demonstration before is that it's saying that it's connected to the Governance Hub, and that happens over here. And if I show you what's going on here, it's pointing to a URL, which is my hosted hub, and the URL itself, I'll show you this in a moment, creates what is known as a project token. And that project token is something that we give to the IPS Toolkit, and the IPS Toolkit then will allow us to publish, capture comments, etc. And this is not just for S1000D, this is also for 2000M, 3000L, 6000T, etc. Now, if I test the connection, you can see that that's actually talking to my hosted website. Now, what's really important here is that the way that I've architected this is that if you can run a web server inside your organization, and you can set up a database, you can set up Hub, and you can have the toolkit talking immediately to your installation. And so now, what does that mean? What does that give us? Well, we know, I think last week I started talking here about the how to build a guidance document for our project, and this is just lots of different stuff that I've put in here to kind of demonstrate this. This is a training project that we use, and here you can see that I have a publish to Governance Hub. So what that does is it will take this document and it will publish it to Governance Hub, and it will then allow people to either just read it, because we have role-based access to this document, and or they can add comments. But also what we have, make sure I go to the right camera, is you know that we're creating our individual BRDPs, our business rules decisions here. And in the hub itself, we can now, when I open the report, you can see that I can publish to Governance Hub. Again, because the context of this project is that token, it will publish it to Governance Hub. And that's true for the BRDP status and the decision intelligence. So if you remember last week, I talked about risk management and how we can have a risk register and who's responsible for what. That also gets published up to the hub. It'll all become clear in a second when I show you how it works. And then what we can do is we can pull down comments from the cloud. Let me make that a bit bigger for you so you can see what's going on. So here you can see that just a simple one has come in to the Governance Hub. And then what happens is when I log in, the toolkit polls, we can set it so it polls the hub, and it pulls down the latest and greatest comments. And it's all version controlled as well. So, okay, now let me come over here so I can seamlessly transition to my web browser. And here I am on my web browser. Let me go back to the right camera. So you can see it's hub.ipstoolkit.io. So again, this is linked to my to my website. And what happens, it's complete user controlled. So you will give somebody access to a project, to a program, and you will give them access via a PIN number. So there's actually 3 different layers of security on this. So it's email, password, PIN number, token, and you then actually give them access to a project. So there's different layers here. So because one person might be a reviewer for one project, but they may only be a viewer for another. So it has that complete kind of nested rules-based access, if you like. So let me log in. So I will be changing all of this by the time this video goes out. So here you can see that I have my login screen, and my login screen takes me straight in to my dashboard. I've not come in as an admin because I've actually got customers that are using this right now. So, and if I come in as an admin, you'll see all of their projects, and clearly you don't want to, well, you might want to see it, but I certainly don't want to show you it. So my dashboard tells me here right now that I am in the reviewer state, and I can open the S1000D side here. And if I publish the 2000M stuff, the MTAs, etc., all in here, then that would also be listed in here, so that now my desk officers or whatever can connect and they can comment on the task analysis, the training needs analysis, all those kind of things. So now remember, I showed you back in the toolkit, I showed you how we have this guidance builder. I can very quickly show you that, and it's just published up here, tells us exactly what's used, what's not used, etc. I'm not going to go into how I build that report because it's actually there's quite a lot of features in there for us to be able to build that. The decision intelligence, I don't think I've got any. Oh, I have got a couple in here. So you can see that it gives me my risk register, it gives me all of those kind of things. And here you can see that I can comment as, because I have associated to my profile that I can comment as a S1000D, 3000L or 6000T person. And so I can add a comment to those if I need to. But the important one here is being able to come in and see the actual BRDPs, the decisions that we may be making, the priority of those decisions, and we can add a comment based on my role, based on the actual domain that I might be representing. And then, so I'll just do it as a quick, another comment. And so I can post another comment. And now if I put myself on the spot and go back to my actual IPS Toolkit, you can see that it's pulled down my actual comment here. And then what we do then is that we then link that actual unique ID back to the business rules decision. And now we have this entire ecosystem where we're capturing comments and how we're then being able to track those over the life cycle, see who commented and why a decision was made, not just today, tomorrow, next month, next year, but 15, 20 years in the future, where, you know, I've retired, you've retired, maybe some of you are quite young, maybe you're not retiring just yet. But the reality is here is that we can now have this full, open, transparent governance layer that we can put in here. Now, of course, what do we have inside S1000D? We have groups and categories of our rules. We can say that, you know, technical authors, you can review only this subset of rules. The 3000L guys, you can review only these subset of rules. So now what we can do is trim down who can access what. So what's important here? Open, transparent, governable, and access to our decisions, completely independent of CSDBs and publishing tools and all those kind of things. But what we can do is the publishing side of stuff. We could say, you know, our chosen software vendor is this company that is going to give us the interactive viewer. We can say we've made all of these decisions around how we want to publish our data to the viewer. Can you confirm that you can support all of this? And they can come in and add comments just on their subset of what they can actually support. What am I doing right now? I'm going to change my screen, make sure you can't see everything. Is that if I come into here, what I'm doing right now, because I think this is a pretty valuable tool, is that you can see here now that I have the S1000D bike data. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm actually reverse engineering the S1000D bike data. And therefore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a set of business rules and guidance documents across all domains for S1000D bike. And I'm going to put that free of charge inside the free view for the S1000D navigator. So, you know, we've got the free navigator of the IPS Toolkit that allows you to look at the S1000D bike data. I'm going to generate a token, and it's going to be read-only because, of course, I don't want millions of comments coming in for nonsense. But then what you can do is you'll see how you can publish changes for the bike. You won't be able to, because I'm not going to have anything random going up to the server, but you'll be able to see how it all works mechanically. So I'm currently doing that in the fringes because I do actually have some work on at the moment, but I'm reverse engineering the bike data into the business rules decision points, back to MTAs, back to FMEA, training needs analysis, etc., and the 2000M side of stuff, provisioning. And once that's all ready, I will make it available on Hub free of charge, so you can go and see how that works. You can log in, have a look at it. Again, it will be read-only just because I don't want lots of random comments coming in. There you go. That's Hub. That's why I developed it. It's a problem that every client that I support has. How do we actually govern? How do we actually prevent this? Lots of disconnected Excel spreadsheets. The Hub actually works with spreadsheets as well if you still want to work in that environment, but I'm trying to show the value of it outside of that. Anyway, how do you get access to that? Get in touch on techdataworld.com, send me a message, or contact me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to show you how this can work. Again, works on that's on a public secure cloud, but I have the ability that you can point it to your internal web services, so you can have it on your intranet, your extranet, and you can control who accesses it, etc. There you go. That's IPS Hub. Hope you enjoyed that. And if you have any questions, you know where I am. Next week, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. There's the millions of things this thing does. I might talk about the new TDW training portal and how we connect the IPS Toolkit to it, so you can actually drive your own course from the IPS Toolkit. Anyway, maybe we talk about that next week. I don't know. Anyway, those of you who know, you know. Take care. Bye-bye.